morning and welcome to Hello Westchester here on WCHE every Monday from 11:30 to noon. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Cara Corridoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which releases every Friday, covers all the news and information related to life here in Westchester. You can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. How you doing this morning, Cara?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear from you right before the 4th of July holiday.
Yes, exactly.
So looking forward to that and looking forward to another show here. A lot of stuff on the agenda. First, we'll talk about something going on recently. ICE officers were spotted on Westchester streets.
Yeah, so we've heard about ICE or Immigration and Customs Enforcement activity in Chester County over the last couple of months, and I know they have been reported in Kennett Square. There was a report from Westchester University that a student there had been picked up, but to date we really haven't had any concrete proof of them in Westchester, but we do have a video evidence that was shot earlier this month on the 19th of June. And in the video, which you can see, you go to the Hello Westchester YouTube channel, YouTube and Hello Westchester, you can see the whole video, but you can clearly see two officers escorting a man to the car. Both of them are wearing it's kind of unmarked, plain clothes. They don't look like officers based on their clothing per se, although there are three officers in the video that you can see. Two of them do appear to be wearing bulletproof vests, which is not typical of civilians, but the third doesn't even have that kind of marker. They escort the man to a unmarked Jeep, but there are red and blue flashing lights in the back. And there's a little bit of audio in the video, and you can hear one of the agents say, "All right, we got a warrant." So it looks like it's pretty concrete evidence that there has been some activity. We don't know if there's additional or if just a one-off here, or if more will be coming up. But just something to kind of be aware of. That does appear that efforts have been made in this area as well.
And I did hear something before. Now, this is a little while back, and I believe it might have been February. I remember hearing about the Westchester University, but that was determined to be false, right? In that case.
Was it? I just saw the report. It was in the quad. I looked at it myself, but for me, there wasn't enough evidence to share.
I remember there were multiple instances. I remember one where it was like they had fake stickers or something like that. Yes,
that's true. There was that one where there was fake stickers. There was another case where they actually reported a student had been picked up. And
I did hear that one.
And they had quoted anonymous sources that they had reviewed, but for Hello Westchester, me reporting anonymous sources that I don't have direct access to seemed a little bit too far removed to include. But I do know that was out there then, and I don't know if that was ever disproved, that case, or any further evidence came forward as to who the student was or what had happened in that incident. But the activity is obviously happening all over the country, so it's not necessarily surprising that we would see people here, but it is also, something you don't always expect to see. So, so something to be aware of.
Yeah, definitely. So that was in Westchester, the ICE officers. And speaking of Westchester, they are hiring more police officers. Is that correct?
That is correct. So, obviously, the Westchester Police Department has been in the news a lot lately, especially since the June 14th No Kings rally, when an individual was taken into police custody after attending the rally with a loaded handgun and several rounds of ammunition. They were widely praised for their actions in that situation. They were able to disarm the gentleman quietly and remove him from the scene. Actually, I read an initial article in the Daily Local News about the rally, and there's absolutely no mention of this whole incident in it. So they did it kind of under the radar of apparently everyone. Of course, there was a video taken of that incident. I'm sure we've all seen it at this point, and that was wild. Then obviously the news broke, and it was widely circulated after that. But how they handled it in the time, was admirable. And so earlier this month, Westchester Police Chief Joshua Lee came ahead in front of Borough Council, and I think this was routine. They have been going through a hiring process since January of this year. Last year, beginning in June, since June, they have lost 2 officers. I'm not sure the reason for that. Could just been retirement, but they've been too short of their full set of officers that they have for the full force. So they've been on this hiring process. But as part of that, and as part of putting forward these new candidates, Chief Lee kind of went through the process they use to hire and what they look for. And it was interesting, I think, to kind of see what it takes. It's not really it's not a straightforward process. They go through a lot of steps. And, I think that is kind of, you don't just get to be, the best because you want to be the best. There is steps you must take to get there. So I cover a little bit about that process this week. And just to kind of highlight some of that. So if you wanted to be a Westchester police officer, you would start by completing the written application. This can be done online. For the first time, I believe this January, they had an online option. So you can complete that online application. We'll go through the process, but at the same time, we'll go through also how many candidates advance through each stage of this process, because I thought that too was interesting. So the written applications, they had 128 candidates apply for these positions. After the applications, there's a series of exams that the officer candidates must take. The first being an oral exam, which is followed by a written exam. And should you pass those 2, you have to undergo a physical examination. So they started with 128 candidates. They had just under 70 show up for the oral exam. About 40 of those passed the written and oral examinations and moved on to the physical fitness test. 3 to 4 more were eliminated during the physical examination. So it leaves 30-some that have made it to this next round. So after those examinations, those that pass are moved on to a background check stage. And the background check, which is led by it's a detective-led investigation, so they're not just throwing it out to the state, they're doing it themselves. They go over the candidate's employment history, their education history, their credit history, and then any criminal background they may have. They also interview their friends, their relatives, their neighbors, and their teachers of the candidates.
Very thorough. Right,
very thorough. And if you pass all that, the candidate is then moved on to a polygraph examination. And so according to Chief Lee, the reason for the polygraph, it serves kind of 2 purposes. One is to ensure the candidates are being honest about the answers that they provided to the police. And 2, it's kind of it shows them a little bit about how the person operates under pressure and in situations, and whether or not they have what it takes to be a police officer. Actually, he's told Borough Council that the polygraph examination really gets to the character of the person, and that's one of the reasons they like to do it. So after all of that, we had just over 30 that advanced to that background check phase. After that, a little more than half were eliminated. So if you think about that, you're starting with 130 applicants, and about a dozen made it to the final stages. From there, they took only 2. They had 2 candidates that they presented to Borough Council. So they presented their top 2 candidates. There was 2 open positions, makes sense. But of those additional dozen, there's about 4 that are left as possibles. Mm-hmm. So these guys will stay kind of in a little queue should anything open up. They're not necessarily guaranteed to be advanced. So really at the end of this process, they had 6 candidates that they thought potentially could make good officers. 2 they're putting forward now. 4 they will reevaluate should a position open up. But that's, out of 130 that applied, that's a pretty small, advance rate.
Yeah, that is interesting to see how the whole process works and everything, kind of how it goes from 1:30 to about 6, as you mentioned. And I was looking on here, they have the police app where the application was. It's closed now, but just all the steps and everything, and it's very rigorous. But it makes sense because Westchester especially, you have the university here, very populated area. You got to make sure you have the best of the best.
Yes.
For situations like what happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you are. We are, I think, lucky to have people that take such that go through such rigorous process for them. As the mayor has said, that other places don't do things like this. They don't do the civil service exams. They don't quite go through the level of background checks that Westchester does. And I do think, it probably shows. I mean, the way they handled kind of that situation, which was high pressure. Was with calm, was with kind of a measured response rather than maybe panicking and throwing somebody to the ground and kind of escalating things. It was kind of measured. So they did get through the process. They did put forth 2 candidates. One was Gavin Storolazzi and the other Christopher DiBaptiste. Both candidates were recommended. Just putting it out there to note, because Christopher DiBaptiste, I don't know, that name may sound familiar to you. Yes, he is in fact related to the mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is her nephew, but as Chief Lee pointed out, she did recuse herself from the hiring process this time because as the mayor, she is kind of the civilian head of the police force, Westchester Police Force, and very active in this whole process. Working with the Civil Service Commission. She's, very active. But this time through, she did not participate. And instead, Carolyn Comita, who is now our state senator, but was previously a mayor of Westchester, she kind of stepped up and played that role the mayor typically does. So both candidates have been, given the okay to approach for hiring. If they accept, the force should be back to full strength within a couple of weeks or months or however long it takes them to get up to speed.
Yeah, so good to hear. So that was with the Westchester Police Force. So interesting to see just how that whole process works out. So that was the 2 big stories we have here. Let's take a break, and we had a lot of quick updates as well as some things to look ahead to going forward. Listeners, stay with us, and we will be right back. And welcome back to Hello Westchester here on WCHE. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Cara Corridoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which releases every Friday, covers all the news and info related to life here in Westchester. So we have some quick updates to get to, the first being a Westchester man charged in the latest theft from a precious metals dispensary in U.S. history.
Yeah, this is the largest theft from a precious metals depository in the United States, and I don't know how I missed it, but I hadn't heard this story, so I shared that last week. But apparently, Westchester gold and silver dealer Robert Leroy Higgins was ordered to pay $76.5 million in restitution to more than 1,000 clients. So he was convicted last fall of fraud and tax evasion. And this last week, or the week before last, he was sentenced to 65 years in prison and then ordered to pay that restitution. He lured unsuspecting victims into a retirement scheme that relied on that sold them on the stability of precious metals like gold and silver, and instead used that money to finance a lavish lifestyle, including his Westchester home, but also tropical vacations, armored vehicles, and his daughter's private school education. And then so according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the fraud was considered to be the largest theft in precious metals depositories in the history of the United States. So I don't know what's going on in there exactly, but that's unfortunate, and unfortunate for those people that may have lost money in this scheme. It does, while the restitution was ordered, there is a caveat, obviously, that most of the time you're not going to get your money back. You'll be lucky to get, a portion of that if you get something. But so it is unfortunate.
Yeah, I feel like to your point about it being unfortunate, you see so many instances. Like I reported on earlier about another scheme going around with like relatives and just a lot of money, getting a lot of money from relatives. So you do see so many examples of different schemes out there. Just got to be careful.
Yeah, I think sometimes that adage is, if it seems too good to be true, it just might be.
Yeah, so absolutely. So $65 million, I think you said it was. Oh, no, 65 years. 76 and a half in restitution for the metals, about 1,000 customers. So some big ones there. So that is a Westchester man, the largest theft from a metal depository in the United States history. The second story we had, Westchester Railroad Committee members were honored.
Yes, so week before last, two Westchester residents were given the key to the borough by the mayor of Westchester, Lillian D. Baptiste, for their work on the Westchester Rail Restoration Committee. They have been on the committee since its inception in 2010, and I don't know if you're familiar with this committee, but really for an all-volunteer committee, this group is relentless. They've really accomplished some pretty impressive things. Their whole goal is to return rail service to Westchester, which seems pretty, maybe straightforward in its intent, but it has been a long haul. I mean, it's not easy trying to get the rail lines refurbished and trains back on that. It's extremely expensive. SEPTA's not really been cooperative. They've run into pushback even on their own, even from Borough Council itself and the Historic Railroad. They too don't always seem like they are on board with these initiatives, but they have really they had accomplished some pretty impressive things. They had connected with this Metro group, and they're to do the Westchester Metro, which was like an electric train, which would have brought it back at a fraction of the original cost. They've worked out so many details. Unfortunately, with SEPTA's current financial situation, I feel like they're probably down again, and the likelihood of this train returning has probably gotten even smaller. But I don't know. I wouldn't count them out. They really are a relentless group. But that was Joanne Kelton and Thomas Hickey. And she said they, as the mayor described them, they're fierce advocates of returning rail to Westchester.
So definitely two very different stories here. The first one, you have someone charged in a theft. Second one, they're honored.
Yes.
So the committee members are honored. So great to hear
Good
that.
And bad, yes.
We'll see what happens going forward as far as the railroad in Westchester. Let's go next to the third story here, and this was, speaking of honors, the Westchester University basketball coach was inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, got a couple good news stories here. Yes, so Westchester University basketball coach Lucille Kaivalos, she coached the Golden Rams from 1962 to 1966, during which time she racked up a record of 52 wins and 2 losses, which is impressive. Before leaving and moving on to out in New York, I can't remember.
Queens College.
Queens College, thank you. Yes, she coached at Queens College. She is credited for helping the women's team establish its Final Four format. But she was inducted with some big names. At her induction was also Sue Bird, Alana Beard, and Sylvia Fowles, which were all, all-stars in the WNBA. So congratulations to her. Big honor, and so.
Yeah, she was with Westchester 1962 to 66. Her last year, she achieved a 10-0 record and had a lot of success at Queens College as well. So
yeah, it was impressive.
Definitely well deserved, and it looks like a good cast of female athletes there as well.
Exactly.
From the WNBA. The fourth story we have here: East Goshen Park celebrated for connecting kids to nature.
Yes. So actually, this is really a shout out to Recreation Director Jason Lang over there, but he was nominated by the Westchester Garden Club and was given the the National Garden Club or the Garden Club of America's Elizabeth Abernathy Hull Award. So he was one of 30 educators that was selected to receive the award this year. And the Hull Award recognizes individuals who not only educate but also inspire children to appreciate beauty in our planet. And Jason has been credited doing that for West Goshen. Or East Goshen, I'm sorry, for East Goshen Township. So, good for him. I'm excited. It's nice to have those kind of opportunities available in our area.
Yep, absolutely. So shout out to Jason. I worked with him a little bit at the university, collaborating with the East Goshen Township Park.
Oh, did you?
Great guy and very nice, and he's doing a great job over there.
That's awesome.
Shout out to him. The next story we'll go to, we got a few more before we look ahead, and we'll have some time to look ahead for some things here. The next one is local dairy on the PA 2025 ice cream trail.
Yes. So one local dairy has made the ice cream trail, and that is Bailey's Dairy of Pocopson Meadow Farm. That's over on Lenape Unionville Road. And it's joining 51 other ice cream parlors in the state. What you need to do to get onto this ice cream trail is you really have to produce the milk yourself. Produce the milk, use it to make ice cream, sell that ice cream to people. So it is direct farm to table as one can get. So Bailey's Dairy has 70 dairy cows out there, and they provide the milk that they use to make their homemade ice cream. If you would like to participate, you can visit destinations, and every time you do, you'll get 100 points. You get 600 points, and you'll receive a commemorative stainless steel tumbler. I think there are 3 or 4 other in Chester County. I don't know if you have that up, but
three total in Chester County.
3 total in Chester County.
Bailey's Dairy, Chester Springs at Milky Way Farm, and Hangry Bear Creamery.
Okay, so there's 300 points right there for you. I have had their ice cream, and it is delicious.
Which one? The Bailey's?
The Bailey's, yes. Actually, I think I've had the Milky Way Farms, too.
Okay. Yeah, so 3 in Chester County, 1 in Berks. I'm seeing a whole list in Lancaster County, Lehigh County, and 1 in Montgomery County.
Yeah,
so a lot that are on the list here. So shout out to our 3 in Chester County here. And then 2 more quick updates. Next one, West Chester and West Goshen paving schedules were released.
Yes. I know everybody always has questions about what's going to be paved and when are these hot potholes going to be taken care of. Well, both West Chester and West Goshen have announced their 2025 paving plans. West Goshen Township will be paving 4.6 miles of roads, many of which have not been paved since they were dedicated to the township. Also, in Westchester Borough, it looks like Westchester Borough is focused on its alleyways this time around. Paving in the borough begins on Monday, today, and it will continue through the second week of July. West Goshen will begin their work sometime in August, so an exact date has not been set for that yet. For the borough, starting off, look at School Alley, Patton Alley, and Potter Alley are the first 3 up. So those are alleys in your area. Crews could be out there this morning right now as we speak. West Goshen has a list of 15, 20. You can find the full list of all the roads that are going to be paved in the newsletter. So if you subscribe to that, again, at hellowestchesterpa.com, you can sign up there. You can see that full list. But I also wanted to point out, so I got a reader question this winter about the entrance of Montgomery Avenue off of East Gay Street, and that's in West Goshen Township, and asking when that would be paved. Well, that is not a township road. It is a state road. And actually, I think, so there's a lot of state roads in the area, I think, that we kind of forget about, and these state roads aren't paved by the township. So, for example, a couple of state roads that you may not know about, Boot Road is a state road, East Marshall Street is a state road, Fern Hill is a state road. So, obviously, Pottstown Pike, Phoenixville Pike, Route 202. These are all state roads. South High Street is a state road. And so those aren't under the jurisdiction of either one of the local townships, we have to go to PennDOT, and I did reach out to PennDOT. They gave me an answer as to when we could expect paving, and unfortunately, it's probably not what anybody wants to hear, but according to Brad Rudolph, who is their deputy communications director, there are no resurfacing projects planned in Westchester over the next 2 years, and that they are currently evaluating their schedule for years 3 to 5. So
a little bit down the line there.
Way down the line, yeah. I think people were probably hoping that was going to be a lot quicker than 3 to 5 years potentially.
Definitely understandable. And then the last quick update we had here, Westchester Green Team's plant wagon is returning.
Yes. So they started this last year. It's a fun little thing if you can find it. So they stock this wagon, a little red wagon, with local plants. I think they're mostly native plants that they try to keep in there. Little seedlings, and they're free for the taking. And so they take this wagon. There's actually 3 of them this year, and they plant them randomly out in the Westchester wild. So parks are common places, but they're also trying to get them in and about neighborhoods this year as well. Unfortunately, they will not tell me the schedule, so you're just going to have to keep an eye out. But they will be circulating for the next 2 weeks. So if you see them and you need some new plants or wanted to add more native plants to your landscaping, feel free. They do ask that you limit yourself to 1, maybe 2 options, but don't take all of the plants. And if you have extras that you would like to share with people, feel free to add those to the wagon as well.
So there we go. So that is the Westchester Green Team's plant wagon, and we got a little bit of time left. Let's look ahead to a few events. I know the 4th of July weekend coming up, some things taking place here in Westchester.
Yes. So we have a couple of updates this week.
So I know the one I see here was a decorated bike parade that is at the West Goshen Community Park at 10 o'clock on
so
July
that's
4th.
the big... so that's kind of a big 4th of July event is the West Goshen Community Park holds their decorated bike parade. That's taking place at 10 a.m. If you wanted to be in that, you should have signed up by now. But it's a bunch of kids that decorate their bikes and take them through West Goshen Community Park in a little bit of a parade. Again, that starts at 10 a.m. on the 4th, on Friday. Also on Friday the 4th is First Friday in downtown Westchester, and they are celebrating. We're going to have 2 free concerts going on. One will be over at the Chester County Courthouse. That's Kitchen Sink Band. They'll be performing there. And then over at Jack's Lowe's Plaza at 44 West, corner of West Gay and Church Street, that is going to be the Garden Jazz Orchestra performing there.
So a busy 4th of July weekend, so make sure to get out to Westchester. So we're out of time. Cara, thank you as always. Hope you have a great 4th of July weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And listeners, thank you for checking out the show, and we'll talk to you next time.